All right, folks, welcome back to the Sense and Signal podcast with Jodah and Dan. And today we're going to be talking about George Santos, who just recently got expelled from the House of Representatives, only the sixth person to have been expelled in the history of Congress, and the first one in 20 years. So quite a milestone for George Santos. Jodah, what do you think about that?
Who got expelled before? Well, my first question is, who got expelled before? Who was
I don't know. Somebody 20 years ago.
Huh.
I didn't do my research that deeply, but somebody else in the comments section, we don't really know what's going on. We're just going to be talking about an article in the New York Times Sunday magazine called "Here's Every Single Lie That George Santos Told During His Rise to Fame and Misfortune as a House of Representative member over the past couple years."
So here's I don't have a take. My take is a question. Now, my gut, everything I've seen from him, he seems like a schmarmy character. So
really, you think he's schmarmy?
Already? I have a bias against him, so I hope all that doesn't affect my judgment on on things. But
I would say he's more oily.
Oily, yeah. He got voted in. Why? That's my question. So my question is this: did the people know he was oily and they said this is another FU vote in that neighborhood, or did he pull the wool, or was the other person that he was running against? Who was he running against? How did he? Or was there nobody he was running against?
I don't know.
Did he get elected?
Yeah, and he was riddled with scandal from day one. I remember
day one.
Yeah, Mitt Romney wouldn't even talk to him and told him he was an embarrassment to Congress and he shouldn't be there. And there was that whole Mitt Romney blow up. I mean, I think he was definitely riding in on the MAGA tails, right? Which is fascinating. I mean, he's a MAGA guy, so he was kind of riding the coattails of Donald Trump.
Okay, and then a quick side note with him, because the Republicans up until recently would be remiss to do anything to rock Donald. The MAGA world, and not everybody. This was not unanimous. There were still lots of people who were like, "I'm not voting."
But it was still bipartisan. Hey, and you have to admit, in a world as divided as ours. Well,
yeah, go on.
There were some Democrats who voted against it. But
no, I can see
in a world as
right.
divided as ours is today, the one thing that the Republicans and Democrats could get together on was kicking George Santos out of Congress. I mean, it gives you kind of a little hope for the future.
Well, that's my wondering. Does that mean the Donald Trump thing might be losing some of its steam? You've been saying that for a little while. You feel it has been in general. I think.
Oh yeah, I think. Yeah, okay. I mean, there's always been that part of the Republican Party that hasn't been pro-Trump, right? And not even to go completely down that avenue, but yeah, I think.
Reluctantly, I think a lot of them worked pro-Trump, but I think there was a lot of reluctance to a lot of the Republicans. But it was I think it wouldn't have done well for their career if they were to go against him at that particular moment. Probably
political opportunism is a thing, right? Yeah, so you're trying to hold on to power. You stick with the guy who has the current popularity points to keep you in power, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, I do feel like, I mean, it's sad that Trump might actually win, given that his star is falling, right? So tremendously. And it just goes to show how weak of a candidate we have in Joe Biden. But we're not really here to talk about all that. We're here to talk about George Santos. And the reason why I wanted to bring up George Santos was just the ethics of leadership, right? Because this is a leadership and sense-making podcast. And what we have here with George Santos is a great object lesson in unethical leadership. I mean, constantly lying. And, yeah, I mean,
like just to the point where he was like, can I get away? I just feel like he was doing it as an experiment. Like, I feel like it would be, if I find out that he was actually a comedian and said, I'm going to play the most horrible human being in the world and see if I can get elected, I would believe it, because he seems to be that.
Who was that guy on the show Taxi? The guy who used to do like the wrestling of women.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. Right,
Andy Kaufman. It's kind of like he's an Andy Kaufman type of character.
I would believe it. Yep.
Yeah, no. Yep. So one thing, he allegedly lied to donors and used their money to make purchases on Hermes and OnlyFans. I've never heard of Hermes, but I've obviously heard of OnlyFans.
I'm assuming it's similar. I don't know Hermes. Sorry, Hermes. I haven't heard of you. I'm sure you're awesome, but I'm assuming
you're getting some free publicity. So go ahead and sponsor one of our episodes.
Yeah, please. And again, I will send our addresses for the money in the chat. So wait. Well, I'm sorry. I heard OnlyFans. I lost my mind. So what happened with OnlyFans?
That's what happens every time I hear it too. Yeah. So he basically used some of his lied to donors about how money was going to be used, got donations, and then used those donations for personal expenses, which included some OnlyFans subscriptions. So yeah. So that's one thing he did. He also used
wait, real quick. We got to pause there for 1 second. We're insinuating or alluding to that he was using public money for porn, right? That's what we're saying.
He was using public money for his porn consumption.
Right, okay. I just want to be clear on that. All right. Yeah. That's how I would use public money if I got elected, so I don't know what the problem is.
For sure. He also used campaign money for personal travel and Botox. So when he was talking to the prostitutes or the sex workers on OnlyFans, he wanted to look good. Make sure it's wrinkle-free. Botox.
He was. I always kind of thought he had a nice, like, plump face. He just kind of very youthful looking. So he was
shooting himself his face up with some Botox. All right.
Yeah.
And all the while he was at one point during the pandemic lied about his employment status to collect unemployment benefits during the collect COVID relief funds.
I heard about that. that. And at first I was like,
$24,000 in unemployment benefits.
My initial knee-jerk reaction was, I have tried to get unemployment under certain circumstances and in my past, and it's hard. And you sometimes have to game it a little bit to make sure you get it. Otherwise, they're just not going to throw you any cash at all. A quick example, and this needs to be fixed, by the way. If you try to take classes, again, I guess it depends on the state, but in California, if you try to take classes to make sure that you can get a job sooner rather than later, historically speaking, they will not give you money for unemployment because they don't allow you to put money into educating yourself to be a better job or a job. So, and that burnt me once. So I was thinking, maybe there's a story here. Maybe there's an issue. No, the guy was making $120,000 a year at a job and just decided to try to collect another 24.
Yeah, he was making good money already. He lied about his taxes to Congress. Was another thing. He took that from probably Trump's playbook. This is one of the ones I really love. He reimbursed himself for loans he did not make. So he loaned... He apparently tried to claim that he loaned his campaign money and then reimbursed himself for the fake loans that he made.
Wait. Say that again?
So he says he loaned his campaign money. So he took about $81,000 of... He says he took $81,000, loaned it to his campaign for his House of Representatives campaign, and but it was a fake loan. He didn't really make it, but he pulled out the money and reimbursed himself for that $81,000.
Jeez. Yeah.
He lied about where he went to high school. He lied about where he went to college. He claimed that he worked on Wall Street, which he didn't do. And so I also think he also lied about founding an animal charity. One of my favorites is that he swindled a disabled vet whose dog ended up dying. I shouldn't laugh about that, but he may have ripped off an Amish dog breeder with a bad check. I mean, the list just keeps going on. And then he claims to be gay and that he's married to somebody, but nobody's ever been able to identify who he's married to. Claimed that his mother's death was connected to 9/11. Also claimed that his grandmother was Jewish and a survivor of the Holocaust, or was a victim of the Holocaust. So it's been proven that George Santos is not Jewish. He claimed that he had employees get murdered in the Pulse shooting.
Wait, in what shooting?
The Pulse nightclub shooting in Florida years ago.
Oh.
He
So,
claimed that his niece got kidnapped.
all right. Here's a nuance.
Hold on, I want to get
right.
to my favorite one. My favorite one is the lie of omission. Right, the one thing we've learned from the Shakespeare play Macbeth is omission is a type of lie, and that he omitted the fact that he was a drag queen in Brazil. Several people have come forward to saying that he wanted to become as a drag queen. He wanted to be named Miss Gay Rio de Janeiro.
Well, I mean, if you're running
We all
for an
have to have
office,
goals.
okay, so that's the one that's the least egregious, if you ask me. Omission. I mean, yes, you can if it's critical to like it's
Your
omitting.
job, yeah.
If I'm applying to become a heart surgeon and I'm omitting the fact that 90 people have died as I've performed heart surgery on them, that's a big deal. But if I'm going to be a heart surgeon and I'm omitting the fact that I'm also a drag queen, that's not pertinent to me being a heart surgeon. So I actually don't have any issues with that. But I do wonder, like, is there a scenario here? Again, let's be nuanced, folk. Let's just assume, and I'm fully on board that this guy is a schmuck. But this is also something like a pile-on. I mean, they clearly want him out, and how is this just sort of like going over the top? Are all these things factually true? Are they digging stuff up just to remove this guy? Or
he also said he was on Hannah Montana. Yeah. Now that's egregious.
Was he on it? Was he actually on it though?
I
mean, how would you say that and then not be on? What? I mean, like maybe I gotta imagine there's a semblance of truth to that stuff. This either that or they just. How did he swindle those people? What is it? New Jersey? How did he swindle them? Why would they vote for this guy? I don't. That's to me the biggest question here. Is like if this guy's as bad as he is, what?
Well, I mean,
obvious. I'm not.
People may. I mean, how did Trump get elected?
Final thought: if they did know he was that bad, this is democracy. Are they not allowed to vote a criminal into the House of Representatives?
Well, maybe at the time he wasn't a criminal. I don't know if he had been prosecuted for anything at that point.
I use the word criminal in air quotes.
But I mean, this is more about ethics than law, right? I mean, he's clearly been acting unethically.
Right. So should not people be allowed to vote unethical people into office? No, let me rephrase that. Should people be allowed to vote unethical people into office in a democracy?
Well, they clearly can. They did.
No,
but then I think it's good,
though.
Congress has to have some sort of mechanism to oust people who are behaving unethically. I think it's a good thing. I think his ouster is a good thing.
I think so. I question the people. I'm sorry, New Jersey, whoever voted him in.
New York. Maybe he's from New York.
New York. Not judging. I don't know why you voted him in, and I'd love to know why. But I don't think he should have been voted in. It sounds like this guy's just a questionable soul. And yeah, I'm glad he's not. And there's probably, but at the same time, let's get real. Half of Congress, even the people who voted him out, probably should be voted out as well. So,
for sure,
that's pot calling the kettle black, if you ask me a little bit.
Yeah,
this guy's just egregious, like egregious.
Yeah, egregious is one word for it. So, all right. So we agreed George Santos deserves to be kicked out. We have to ask some questions. Ask some questions about the voters. People really look closely at your ballots. Really think about the people you're voting for, because we don't need too many distractions like George Santos getting put into the government, especially with.
I wonder if George Santos, the UFOs, and all that stuff is really just a way to like distract us. You know, I mean, it's like it's news, but it's not. You know, I'll be honest. Folks, I've not been following this. Dan said, "Hey, let's talk about George Santos and all the things he's done." I almost asked who the hell George Santos was. It took me a second to kind of, oh yeah, George Santos is that schmuck guy. I have not been following it, but I do. It does feel to me, and don't get me wrong. Our system has got issues, and we do have a problem with having authentic human beings in our offices these days. But I just wasn't on my radar. It just wasn't, and I'm wondering. But I do. No,
it is. It does. I haven't been following it too closely either. I kind of like treat it like page 6 of the New York Post, right? I mean, it's kind of that level of news. Very petty, very yellow journalism type of stuff, and and obviously he's almost a cartoon character. I mean, even after they voted to oust him, which, interestingly, it's taken 6 times. This is like the 6th vote to attempt to try and oust him. He ran through the halls, and now he's planning on all kinds of revenge, and he's not going to go quietly in that good night. Like a lot of narcissists, right? A lot of narcissist personalities, when they get called out, and the chickens come home to roost, as they say, they pull out their knives, and they come looking for you, take their pound of flesh, as it were. So. Yeah, so I mean, we're probably not going to. This is probably not the end of George Santos. HBO, I think HBO or Netflix is going to be making a movie about him.
I hope so. It'll be like
they are. No, it's already announced.
Oh,
I'm not making that up.
It should be like a cartoon.
Oh yeah, it would be better. Sunday morning comics, Adventures with George Santos. That'd be great for the New York Post. I mean, no, for the Washington Post, right?
Yeah, no.
Adventures with Georgie Santos.
I'll call Netflix and tell them make it a cartoon.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Total cartoon. Just like him. All right, folks. Well, thanks for listening to this edition of the Sense and Signal podcast with Jodah and Dan. If you like this discussion, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell your friends, share, and leave a comment. What do you think about George Santos and the questions his ouster raises?
Love him or leave him. All right. Dan, good conversation. See you, everybody.
Take care, everyone.